Debt can feel like a weight that never goes away. You make payments every month, but the balance hardly moves. And it feels like you'll never get ahead. Have you ever felt that way? Well, the good news is that there is a proven path to get out of debt. And once you do, you can redirect all that money into building real wealth. How does that sound? Well, today I'll walk you through the 5 steps to finally break free. I know what it's like to feel buried in debt. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. It's such a terrible feeling to go through that. And I want to give you some advice, some coaching advice to help shelter you from having to go through an experience like that. At one point, I was making payments and never making progress. Once I learned how to create a clear plan and stick to it, everything really shifted for me. And I use the same process with my clients, and I've seen it work again and again. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 business coaching tips to finally get out of debt and start building real wealth in your business. Business coaching tip number 1 is you've got to face the numbers. I know sometimes if we're in that situation, it's tough, but we have to face the numbers. You can't fix what you won't face. So the first step is to get crystal clear on how much debt you have and what it's costing you. So write down every single debt, the balance, the interest rate, and the minimum payment. Okay, and this is credit card loans, credit cards, loans, lines of credit, everything. Okay, then you want to add it all up so you can see the full picture. And this can seem overwhelming, but clarity is power, and that's what we're going for here. Once you know the numbers, now you can make a plan, and you can build a plan from a realistic perspective of where you are right now. I worked with a client who avoided looking at her debt for years. She thought it was around $10,000, and for years she said she's going to take the time to sit down and understand the numbers, but she procrastinated, like many do, right? She finally booked a coaching package with me so that she could finally get clarity on her business. Now, one of the activities that we started out with was to sit down and write out all the debt. And it was actually $17,000 of bad debt. And that moment was really hard, but it was also healing. It was freeing because now she had the truth and we could build a plan from there. Okay? So think of what this would mean for you, right? Which leads me to business coaching tip number 2, which is stop adding to the debt. Stop adding to the debt. You can't dig out of a hole if you keep digging yourself into it, right? The second step really is to stop adding new debt. Commit to living within your means starting today. I know those credit cards are pretty sneaky. They're going to tell you you can get money back, you can get rewards, you can get flights, you can get this, that, and the other. So it's very tempting to use those cards for our expenses and then say, hey, we'll pay it off later. And then that's when we get into trouble, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to start new healthy habits. If you use your credit cards, pay them off in full each month or switch to a debit card. And that's also very helpful as you build healthier habits. You want to build a small starter emergency fund, even just $1,000, so that when life happens, you don't put it on a card. And this step is about changing the pattern so you're not spinning your wheels. One client I had, she was in a cycle of paying down her debt, paying down her credit cards, and then charging them back up again, paying them down, and then charging them back up. We built her $1,500 mini emergency fund first and got her into the habit of putting a percentage of revenue into the emergency fund to complete her 6-month emergency fund. The next time her car needed repairs, guess what? She used cash instead of credit. And that was the moment the cycle broke. So I want that for you too, to put some space between you and Murphy, right? And who was Murphy? Well, that's Murphy's Law, which is anything that can happen will happen, right? There's a lot of potential for anything. We want to think good thoughts, but there's a lot that can impact us. And so we want to put some space between ourselves and Murphy. And we do that through an emergency fund. And we make milestones so that we have these small goals that leads us up to that big, nice, juicy 6-month emergency fund that we want. And it's nice that way because then we can, once we have that 6-month cushion, now we have these extra funds that we got used to saving, and we can fuel that into, redirect that into other areas of the business. But first, we definitely want to build that emergency fund that's going to support our personal and business expenses. That leads me to business coaching tip number 3, which is choose your payoff strategy. This one's important. You know, there's 2 main strategies to pay off debt, the snowball and the avalanche. And both are good, both work. What matters is choosing one and sticking to it. With the snowball method, you pay off the smallest balance first while making minimum payments on the rest. And each time you clear a debt, you roll that payment onto the next one. And this is a good one because you get quick wins. It makes you feel like, oh wow, you know, I'm really getting ahead of things because you're paying off the one with the lowest balance. So you're able to see a nice traction there. So it's good from a psychological perspective. It may not necessarily be the best in terms of the interest rate, right? Because you're still, you know, it's not lining it up based on interest rates. So, you know, you have that too. But from a psychological perspective, the snowball method, really every time most people use that one. Now with the avalanche method, the second one, you start with the highest interest debt, which saves you, it's really going to save you money in the long term. The snowball builds motivation. The avalanche saves more interest. I'm going to repeat that because a lot of people get caught up in this. The snowball method builds motivation, right? The psychology of getting through a lot more balances and knocking things off. But the avalanche saves in more interest. So you save more money in avalanche, okay? I hope that's clear. So now pick the one that fits your personality. Which one do you think is going to keep you for the long run, right? This is not a sprint. This is a marathon. You want to stay committed to paying this off, right? You know, I had a client with 5 different debts. She chose the snowball method because she needed the quick wins. And within 6 months, she paid off 2 credit cards completely. And now the momentum fired her up. And within 2 years, she was completely debt-free. So it is possible. It is possible. I know that it can be overwhelming at first to get ourselves up out of that. But with focus, prayer, right, meditation, right, and just really tapping in and lining up and connecting, you know, we are able to get it done much faster than we ever thought we could, okay? You're more powerful than you think, and you're not alone. Business coaching tip number 4, free up extra cash. So to accelerate debt payoff, you need extra cash flow. You need extra cash flow. Every extra dollar you find should go towards the debt. So what you want to do is do a spending audit to figure out the leaks. And that's something that I talked about in the previous video. I did a whole video just on a spending audit. So take a look at that one. I will link it up here so that you have access to that. You can watch that after this one. But you want to do a spending audit first to identify the leaks so that you can identify, you know, you need more money, right? You need more cash. Where are you going to get that from? Well, the low-hanging fruit is create an audit so that you can identify where you're leaking extra cash and use that extra cash and funnel that into paying off your debt. You also want to maybe sell unused items or add a side income stream, anything that's a low-hanging fruit. Maybe even an extra $200 a month applied to debt can shave years off your repayment timeline. You know, for me personally, when I was in that situation, you know, I would make lunches for my husband. And I love to cook. That's one thing I enjoy doing is cooking. So I love to go on YouTube and find new recipes, and I'll just try it out. And so my husband would go to work with just yummy lunches. And all of the people that he worked with were like, hey, you know, that looks good. Maybe your wife can make me some lunch. And he would just kind of shrug it off, whatever. And then one time over dinner, he told me about it. He kept mentioning it and I just kind of blew it off. But then I said, hey, believe it or not, that's an extra income stream. And he was willing to pay about $100 a week for me to provide lunches. And it wasn't extra work. I would just put an extra plate. I made the same amount of food, quite frankly, because I would have leftovers. I would make his lunch almost like a dinner. I mean, I wasn't making sandwiches. I was making full-on dinner-style lunches. So I had some leftovers, and we'd eat it maybe that afternoon or the next day. So I did have extra because I'm used to cooking for a big family. I come from a big family. And so I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And so I want to share that with you. You might not have to go off and have to build something. It may be a skill that you already have that you can leverage. Even an extra, like I said, even an extra $200 a month applied to debt can shave years off your repayment timeline. In which case I had a $400 a month. And I didn't really have to do very much, right? Just use the skills I already had. So I want you to think that way. Think of it like buying your freedom back, $1 at a time. You know, a client I worked with found about $350 a month in wasted subscriptions and eating out. She redirected that into her debt, and that one shift cut out 2 years of her debt-free timeline. So you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. Once you stay focused, when you stay laser focused on that payoff, you will move mountains, and you will get so much creativity, right? And you know, it's almost like a force helps you through it. I kid you not, right? It's like the universe works with you when you're focused and you're clear, and you put things in prayer, you meditate on that. It's just going to happen. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time if you stay focused. So that leads me to business coaching tip number 5, shift from debt to wealth. That's what we want to do. Shift from debt to wealth. Once your debts are gone, the money you were using to pay them off, guess what? It becomes your wealth building fuel. Keep making the same payments, but in this case, you're redirecting them into savings, into investing, and into your profit account. And this is how you flip the script. The money that once kept you stuck is now creating your freedom, okay? Because that made you a better person. It really challenged you to rise up, right? And be better. So I know right now you're not feeling that way. You're feeling maybe overwhelmed, disempowered, but that very problem that you have about debt is going to be the catalyst to your transformation. Okay? And that is going to build you the muscle you need to get you to the next level. Okay? So there is a purpose to that. One client I had was paying $800 a month towards debt. Okay? Debt. But when she came debt free, we redirected that same $800 into her investments. And in 1 year, she saved almost $10,000, money she had never imagined she could build. Okay. Now let's step back. A lot of information I just shared with you, but let's go ahead and take these coaching tips and put them into practice, right? Let's make it practical for your life. You know, as I always say, knowledge only becomes power when you take action. Knowledge is power. Yes, knowledge is power only when you take action. Okay, don't sit on it. So what I want you to do is write down all your debts today. Okay, and if you can't today, tomorrow, okay? Put that in your schedule. Lock in some time, even if it's just 10 minutes, okay? That's your opportunity, okay? And what you're gonna do is you're gonna pick either snowball or avalanche method that we talked through and make a plan for which debt you're gonna tackle first. Then decide how you'll free up an extra $100 or $200 a month to accelerate the process. Now, if you need help with this, or maybe any other area in your business, I have coaching packages available. Feel free to click the link in the description box below to book a coaching call with me. My time for coaching fills up fast, and I have limited time for coaching. Okay, I wish I can help everybody, but my time is limited. So I have limited slots available right now. So do not hesitate to book a coaching call. If this is speaking to you, if it's resonating with you, click the link and we can figure it out. Okay, so now to recap, getting out of debt isn't about magic. It's about following the right steps. It's about facing the numbers and stop adding to that debt. Pick your strategy, free up extra cash, and then flip your payments into wealth building. Okay, once that cash is free for that. That's how you go from stuck to secure. And now inside my Financial Freedom Accelerator Academy, I'm going to give you the exact tools and strategies to eliminate debt and then start building wealth on autopilot. The link is in the description box below. Check it out if you'd like to work closer with me and if any of this resonates with you. And I just wanted to say thanks for watching. And if you've got any value from this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who will benefit from this business coaching. It just takes a second to click the like button, and that is very, very meaningful to me. It means a lot. There's so much value to that because now, this video can get picked up and can be shared with other like-minded individuals that can benefit from this, right? Now, if you've ever wondered how to create multiple streams of income without burning yourself out, you're not going to want to miss the next video, how to create multiple streams of income without burning out. Click here to watch the next video. Oceans of love. Till next time, my friend.